I was talking with somebody yesterday. Excuse me, I'm keeping that in. I was talking with somebody yesterday, and it made me really start thinking, why do I like Yu-Gi-Oh? Why do I support mainly Yu-Gi-Oh in my shop? And it's not something that I don't know, right? But it made me think about it a little more, right? Like, of course, there's nostalgia, right? I came up watching the anime, getting the cards. I started off Pokemon, red and blue, old man, Unk alert. But I started off with Pokemon, and I had the games, blue version, Blastoise. I was always a water main, like picked up Blastoise. Played that. Me and my boy Murph used to go at it. Then we went to the cards. We had the cards. Then Yu-Gi-Oh became big, and then it changed everything to the point where I destroyed my Pokemon cards thinking I would never need them again. Dumb shit. Oh my God, I wish I didn't do that. But Yu-Gi-Oh just stood out crazily, man. It was the game, the artwork, like Blue Eyes, one of my favorite monsters of all time. I have a whole binder, of collection stuff. I'll probably show it on here again because I updated it. But I have a whole binder of collection stuff, and I have like 2 pages of Blue Eyes, that's the nostalgia, right? Like I think back fondly of me and my boys playing. Shout out to my 2 boys, Murph and Mike. We've always been on this shit from the beginning. Like I took a little break for a little bit. It was just life, for real. Like life got in the way. I was getting older, work and all that. So it's like I slid off like a little while before Exceeds came out, and then my boy Mike slid me the Dark World structure deck, and I was like, oh, I'm back in here, because I really like Dark World, the first Dark World structure deck when Grapha first came out. So that was a lot. That was a lot to take in. I got back into the game, and I never left after that because I just love the speed, right? Like Yu-Gi-Oh is ridiculous. Like that's one of the appealing factors to me. I tried Magic. I had a boy who passed away, and me and him used to play Magic Duels 2012, and we would play Two-Headed Giant. And that got me into Magic and really liking how, the Eldrazi worked. I used to play an Eldrazi deck. And me and him would just be taking heads on Two-Headed, man. Like winning back to back to back. And I used to annoy him with like flipping my hand back and forth, and he hated that shit. But like to me, Magic was a little too slow. So I kind of, when he passed away, I kind of gave it up. I didn't really touch Magic again. I did go play in a couple drafts with him in a shop that had closed, and I had a few cards, but I never really delved into Magic all the way. Today I do have an Eldrazi commander deck that I built. I bought 2 precons, and then I buy singles here and there because I like to collect the Eldrazi because it was a deck that I loved, and it's also to kind of make sure I never forget the homie. But back to Yu-Gi-Oh, man. I said it in another video. It's one of the only card games that you can lose before you play. And that sounds crazy, but I love that shit. Like different decks can be on different tempos, right? Like you can have a combo deck that's just super fast and getting out what they want to get out, but then you can have like you can have like a deck that's focused on slowing the game down, or it could be a mix of both, a little mid-range. But Yu-Gi-Oh just, I don't know, it's just all of the mechanics and, the effects and the intricacies and the rulings and everything is just like, I don't know, there's something very interesting to me about how complicated the game is. It allows for more customization, I feel, than other games, right? There's staples, of course. There's cards that everybody runs, but then like there are cards that nobody runs that, could give you an edge over some other decks because they're going to expect what they expect, right? They're going to expect the meta. Yu-Gi-Oh is just like anything with the meta, right? A meta forms and then everybody runs the same shit. Like everybody, just copy paste, you know? So it's like having almost the entire card pool available to you at all times is also something that like other card games can't seem to do, right? Like Yu-Gi-Oh allows you to use almost anything from the beginning. I haven't really seen any other card games that do that. Like after a while, you know, they kind of write themselves into a corner with card effects. So power creep becomes absolutely insane. And, you know, it does allow them to like continuously make super powerful cards in other card games. But Yu-Gi-Oh has to make cards being conscious of what they've made in the past. And there's over 10,000 cards in the game now. Of course, we have a ban list, cards that you can't use, cards that you can use X amount of copies of, but the ban list is minuscule in comparison to how many cards there actually are in the game. And to be fair, not every card is usable. Some cards are just dirt, to be honest, you know. But the funny thing is, that gives them the ability to go back and support things that you would never expect. Like, if you're not familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh, there's a card called MST, Mystical Space Typhoon. It's a very old card. It came out in like the third set of Yu-Gi-Oh. It's a spell card that essentially allows you to destroy a spell or trap. In Magic, essentially, it would be like something that would destroy like a permanent. You know, or in Pokemon, it would be something that would like destroy like, I don't know, a stadium or something, you know. But like, they doubled back and made an entire archetype that revolves around this one card. Other card games don't do that. They can't do that because set rotation. And some people cry for set rotation in Yu-Gi-Oh, but I just think it's such a bad idea because the fact that there's no set rotation is a part of the game's identity. It is a frustrating game, don't get me wrong. Like, thinking that something works one way, but because it is one niche ruling, it doesn't work like that. And then you have things like missing timing. And then, you know, of course, you know, a lot of people struggle with chain links and new chains and all of the random shit that the game entails. But like, when you know it, you just know it. And then like, the people that know it, they're really locked in. And I would say I'm one of those, you know. We don't have a lot of value on our cards. Only the high rarity stuff is like worth a lot of money. High rarity stuff and old stuff. Things that haven't had that many printings. We do get a lot of reprints. Some people complain about that, but on the flip side, it can be good for players to be able to get their hands on the cards. Reprints are needed. As an owner of a shop, there ain't no margin in Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, there's not a lot of, you know, unfortunately, opening it isn't really the best idea right now. You know, you have to know the sets. Like, in order to open Yu-Gi-Oh, you have to know what's going to be good. Like, you have to be a player, such as myself, right? Like, I can tell when a set is worth opening and not worth opening. And that's hard, right? That's hard. That is tough for a lot of people who are in this industry because Pokemon and Magic, you know, you just open whatever and people are going to buy it. Yu-Gi-Oh is different. It's like, you open whatever, shit, you're going to be stuck with some bulk. And that's, you know, that's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, the game keeps moving because, like, you know, all of these cards, even the random bulk, like, later on down the line, you know, if the card is good enough or if the card is, you know, if the card is on Konami's mind, like, it might get some support. There might be some random deck that just works with this random bad card and it just makes it worth like $20 when it was $1 before, you know? That aspect of the market spiking up and down, that doesn't happen in the other games too much. Like, yes, the markets do move, you know, that's shit. The whole trading card market is a mini stock market in itself. It is a stock market in itself, right? But like Yu-Gi-Oh, the way that some cards, the 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 swing is so drastic sometimes, you know, and that's because of how the game is designed. It's because of how they go back and support things. It's because we don't have set rotation. It's because the game is so insane. And I love the game. I really do. Like, there's no game that I think is perfect, including Yu-Gi-Oh! But it's really fun, and I love to see people play it. I love to see what they cook up. I love to post deck profiles because seeing the duelist personality as well as their choices and what they run is really cool. So I'm going to continue to post Yu-Gi-Oh content here and there. I'm going to branch out. I do sometimes get Magic, Pokemon, all that. So like we'll probably start delving into that a little bit later on down the line. But this is why I love Yu-Gi-Oh! In a nutshell, it's insane. Maybe I am too. All right, later.